if I was looking at the diagram, I could see, well, what's the probability of something being in D? Well, I could see that 20 plus 25 plus 10, or 55, is in D, and that I have 100 in total. So basically, if I look at the diagram, I could just add those numbers that are in D and take it out of the total number that's in this entire set, and I would get 0.55. If I was using a tree diagram, which is how they come up with the formula for it, I would have the probability of D equaling the probability of D given A plus the probability of D given B plus the probability of D given C. And basically, I would have to do 4/7 of 0.35, 5/7 of 0.35, and 1/3 of 0.3, add those together, and I would get the 0.55. It's just, I mean, if you could find a way to get that diagram, then everything would be, much more easily done because you could see it. It's a much more clear visual. But sometimes, depending on the information that you may have in front of you, you may have to calculate some things first before you could actually put together that diagram accurately. But the rest of these questions become pretty easy, especially if I use the Venn diagram I was given. The probability of A given that D has occurred. Well, again, I have 55 in group D. I have 20 of them that are in group A. So if I know that they have to be in group D, I'm only looking at that 55, so 20 out of the 55 would be in group A, and so I would get 0.36 repeating. Find the probability of the complement of D. Well, if I had the diagram in front of me, I could easily just say, okay, well, it looks like I have 25 and 20 out of 100, or 45 out of 100, 0.45. Or I could also realize that by the rule of complements, the probability of the complement of D should be 1 minus the probability of D. And 1 minus 0.55 is also 0.45. So you have a couple of options at that point. The probability of B, given that you're not in group D. So if I'm not in group D, I can see again I have 45. So I'm looking at that 45. 10 out of that 45 are in group B. So 10 out of 45 becomes 2/9, which is 0.2 repeating.